Hey, it's
Hey,
Yasin again,
hey.
and I am so excited for today's Field Notes episode. Last time we had Mitch on, he shared with us his takeaways from the CFESA Region 2 meeting, but now Mitch has some piping hot new insights and learnings from the 2023 CFESA Annual Conference earlier this month. Mitch, how are you doing today, brother?
I am doing well, brother. So nice to be back here with you on the podcast. It's always a pleasure. Whenever this comes up, I really get excited, and I have a hard time sleeping the night before out of excitement for it.
I, I wish my wife is as excited as about talking to me as you are. Uh, so you recently attended the CFES annual conference. How did it go?
Oh wow! The CFESA annual conference, my first time to head over there, and I know you've been there before, so you know the experience. Just it's just euphoric. Where
Mm,
you have this huge plenary hall full of captains of industry. The
yep,
titans of the trade who just exude and breathe, and the gathered brain power and intelligence
it's
in
just
those sessions.
amazing.
It's just humbling, mind-boggling. You get to speak with familiar faces, both old and new. I saw a couple of good friends over there. We have Marshall and Brady over from
RSG,
RSG. We
yeah,
have of course Roger Smelker from UST, who's
Tech
always a
24.
great guy to meet with. Nick Cribb, the president of CFESA, he was
Boom.
super busy,
The
but he
man, the myth, the
always
legend.
the man, the myth, the legend. Indeed, he was super busy, but he crafted some time to say hi, touch base, and talk to him. We have like Nathan from
Nathan Miller,
yeah,
Coastal
Nathan
Cooling.
Miller from Coastal Cooling, who was over there, and it's always great to speak with him as well. And then also met and connected with a lot of new faces over there. Warren from Smart Care, got to talk to
Love it.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
VP of Supply Chain.
yeah, we also have a bunch of a new good friend of mine, Roger Kaufman from EMR,
Mm,
chairman of EMR. We had a great time together with him and his wife, touring the Alamo over in San Antonio. Man, I could just give a full bunch of episodes about that, but I know we're going to do these field notes over different sections of the annual conference because it's a lot to take in and digest. So I'll save a couple
absolutely.
more for later on.
Yeah, and Rich Maliki had streamed the talk by Giner.
Oh
Giner
yes,
Ausgold from
yeah.
Smart Care Service
That's one
Experience.
thing I want to talk
Yeah, the
about too.
snippet
Yeah,
I caught was amazing.
experiences. Yeah,
Yeah. Let's get right into it. We were talking about, this time of the year, everyone is planning. And while you had a lot of great insights from all the different talks and conversations at Smart Care, I mean, at CFESA, something really stood out for you, and that was strategic planning. Uh,
that's right.
so, so tell me a little bit about that, about the, operating, the business operating system that we were chatting about.
Yeah, as a my title, I'm the business transformation consultant here. So this is the kind of stuff that resonates with me, and that's
Yep.
why I said, when I was asked, what's the first topic you want to talk about, I said I want to talk about the talk track, get a grip on your business, which is about the entrepreneurial operating system. So yes, you're right, a lot of strategic planning going on this time of year, especially here in the United States. If you're not Aussie like us, like our company, which does its planning in May. But yeah, the talk was led actually by Don Maranca. He's one of the
Yep.
first implementers of the
Mm,
entrepreneurial operating system. And Don, thank you
yep.
also for you talking to me after the talk. I shook Don's hand because Don is of Filipino heritage. So
Oh, nice.
he grew up in San Antonio in Texas, but he was a proud Pinoy. And so I told him about like Origo and our presence in the Philippines and how inspiring his success here in the United States is, for a lot of our people over there. So again, his his session was called "Get a Grip on Your Business," and he talked about 6 keys to getting what you want from your entrepreneurial company. So a
Yeah.
lot of the companies that are there that have their presence are mid market, they're field service focused, and so they're pretty much in the whirlwind, and there is a lot of value in stepping back and having this strategic planning using like the 6 keys that he talked about.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're in a, I would say, pretty mature industry, right? It's a
Yeah,
very traditional industry. It's not like SaaS where you come out with a new innovation and then you go viral and you raise millions and billions of dollars
yeah,
and you grew like in a matter of a year or two and you become a decacorn, right? And you go list your company on the stock exchange. For us in a very traditional industry, if you fail to plan, you fail to grow.
yeah,
It takes a lot of planning, and growth doesn't happen haphazardly, right? Or doesn't happen by mistake. It needs to, you need to design for it because it's super it's super competitive. Almost everyone is more or less offering the same service. So how do you outcompete?
yeah.
How do you grow? And I don't know how you get it done without, taking a step back from the day to day of the business and working on the business. So
Exactly.
I'm really keen to dive into the 6 pillars of the EOS. And I first heard about, I mean, I read the book, and though I started paying more and more attention when I heard Roger Smeltzer really talking about it and how it changed his business. So, what is the first key to the EOS, Mitch, that Don talked about?
So the first key that he talked about is, of course, vision. And
Mm,
this he one of the things that he said is that the 6 keys are very simple,
mm,
but don't confuse simplicity with ease, and don't
mm.
confuse simplicity with it's pedestrian, or you can just gloss over it and get it done quickly. There is a key differentiation to that. So vision, of course, is kind of like writing down what you want out of your business.
Yeah,
What is the core solution that you're providing? What are the
yeah,
values that you want to carry on while delivering on that? Who is your target audience, your target market? What is the business problem you're setting out to solve? And when he talked about this, it just came back as a throwback because of all the things that you talked about us about our our annual planning as well, and it was so similar to it, pretty much, and getting that down to that
and for us,
level.
for really, it's just what we call our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, right? The
Yeah,
vision,
that's right. Yep.
the vision for us, and we've, I mean, a lot of these strategic planning tools are, kind of, they have a lot of parallels for us. The vision has multiple components. It has, your mission, like what are we here for? And for us, it's about unlocking human potential, right?
That's
That's
right.
our mission.
That's right. Yep.
The other
Yeah.
element of our vision is core values.
Yes.
How do you accomplish? What are the principles that drive your mission? And then what are the habits that you need to be demonstrating in you, not just you, but the entire organization to act on your core values and achieve your mission? And then what's your BHAG, right? Those 4 components for me is what makes up a vision.
That's correct. Yeah, if you don't define your core values, someone else will dictate your own culture for your organization. Somebody within your organization, they'll have different interpretations of it
Exactly.
and run
And
with
that
it.
creates massive dysfunction.
Exactly. And I liken it to the core values is actually your automation code for your
Mm,
people, right? Because we want our people to run independently, because that's where
mm,
we really get innovation and empowerment.
mm,
When you let
mm.
them run with it, they have other ideas and they go with it. But people can tend to run in different directions if there are
You
no
have to have
core
some
values to
governance.
guide them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, like with us, one of our core values is customer obsession, right? And so you do an action and you say, is this aligned with customer
What's
obsession?
best for the customer? Yeah.
I'm doing this thing. This is a great innovative approach, which is unique and revolutionary. But again, the customer, it may be impactful or harmful to the customer's business in one way or another. So I'm not going to do it because it's away from our core value or principle. So I don't even
Yep.
need to go to the board to bring this idea up. Automatically, I took it down because it's
Yep.
in conflict with our
I
core
mean,
values.
it even drives what we do at the tactical level. Like I was
Yeah.
having this
Yep.
conversation with our finance folks, and we're an Aussie company, and we work with companies all over the world. And one of the issues that we face is foreign exchange.
Yeah.
While it's easy for us to charge in Aussie dollars, but what is easier for the customer, right? If we're customer obsessed, we gotta charge in, if we're dealing with companies in the US, we got to charge in US dollars,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yes, let's take that foreign exchange risk ourselves, right? And make it easy for the customer to pay us. And how do they like to pay us? Through a credit card, through a check, a wire transfer? Like, what is easier for the customer, not what's easier for us, right? Even it drives your day-to-day tactical decisions.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. So that really resonated as well. That whole vision, mapping it out. And of course, when you start your day on a car trip and you want to go somewhere, you have to map out, where you
Yes.
want to go and why you want to get there, and the means to do so. So that's the first key.
It's
The
the
second,
why behind why we
it's the
exist.
why. Yeah, it has so many interpretations, right? The why, we have, Simon Sinek's,
Yep,
set your why and all of that.
exactly.
The second key he talked about is, and this is also something that you love, and for me, it really also super resonated, was data. So
Mm.
if we have data, we'll go with the data. If we have opinions, we'll go with mine. It's actually one of the funny sayings there. But again, it's just like you just have to define your
So true.
KPIs. You just have to measure it. And I know you're laughing because we had this discussion just yesterday about so when do we set the KPIs and all of that, especially with our partners and our customers as well. We help guide them as far as that aspect. And I know, it's not the sexiest thing to do, to sit down and really
And it's
measure your
hard.
KPIs. It's hard to
Well, what's the
do.
right KPI? Because you said the wrong KPI, and that might take you in a whole different direction, or you
Exactly.
think you're doing
Yeah.
a great job because you're measuring one KPI, but this really, is it moving the needle for you or for your customer?
Right, exactly. So you have to again align your KPI back to your vision, right? And that goes with like our OKR process, right? Our
Yep,
objectives and key results are always
yep,
there. But again, you can't measure how you've achieved your key results if you have no
yeah.
KPIs to get you there, essentially.
And for us, KPIs really are different level. I think when we say KPIs, people think maybe like they simplify it. It's like if there's one KPI. It's not. It's not that, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's having really a data-driven culture. Like for us, like you talk about our AOP, right? So we start with critical numbers. What are your top critical numbers? For us, there are a few in there, right? You've got your recurring revenue, you've got your gross profit margins, you've got your EBITDA, you've got NPS, ENPS, right? If we really,
Yep.
boil it down, what are the four critical numbers for us? Again, revenue, EBITDA, NPS, ENPS. Those are
That's
kind
right.
of our four North Star metrics that at least at a board level, like we look at these, like are we in the right direction, right? And everything kind of flows from there. From
Exactly.
there, then we break it down into functional KPIs, or what in scaling up, in the world of scaling up, Vern Harnish, it's what we call FACE, or functional accountability.
Yeah.
Then for each function, you have leading indicators, and those are like, for instance, for marketing, it's number of new opportunities or cost of acquisition and whatnot. For sales, it's your closing rate, number of appointments.
Yeah.
For
You're engaged
right,
customers. Yeah. So you're
yeah,
engaged prospects. Yep.
exactly. So every function has their set of KPIs, and then they have their P&L accountability,
That's
and
right.
those
Yep.
should line up to the criticals, right? And from there, once we have the functional KPIs, then you break it down into scorecards. Each function has their KPIs, and then from that you align every team member in that function to those KPIs. So it's like it's cascading, right?
Yep. That's right.
And there's a through line all the way from the team member to the criticals. And it took us time. It took us no less than really 2 years since I've joined.
Pretty much. Yeah.
In fact, 3 years now to really finally nail it. And it's you still always change it up a little bit here and there. But then really it's all about your criticals. You create a financial plan, then you create a bottoms up plan. You cascade that into the functional KPIs, then into scorecards, and that's what rallies everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And the way we talk about it, we live and breathe that. So, I mean, shout out to like some mid-market businesses out there and our existing clients and customers. If you need help with this, we're more than happy to talk to
Yeah,
you
happy
for
to share
hours about
our
this.
playbook.
We
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
we love doing that, and that gratification you get when you see something working well for someone, and this is like we're now at a much more efficient and leaner level.
Oh yeah.
That's just like that's really
And that's the
the thing
literal
that
alignment, right? You can get alignment if you don't first align on your numbers. Like, where are we going? What's
right.
the target, right? It's just like playing a basketball game. You can't play a basketball game without having a scoreboard,
Yeah.
right? How do you know you're
Exactly.
ahead or
Like
behind?
how do you know who won, right? Like, okay, that's a number of misses. So apparently, you're playing basketball, you think you're winning, but it was like reverse basketball. It's like, no, you're supposed to miss all your shots. And then all of a
Exactly.
sudden now you're losing, right? Because of that. So yeah,
Exactly.
if you didn't define it at first. And these six keys, they're not necessarily in the order, but they're just more of like holistic. Like they have to
Yeah.
be, present in it. So the third one we're going to talk about is process. So,
Mm,
creating that structure is essential. And a lot of people usually, especially startups, they come in there, they get all the best people. And, usually they get all the best people and they don't focus on process. And,
mm,
they also, again, run in different directions and the vision isn't set. They're all well meaning, but again, you're
mm,
not really maximizing the limited resource, which is time, right? They're all like working on individual
mm,
projects and stuff like that. But having a process is always very essential because this is where you have things like your planning, your stand-ups, you have your
mm.
retros and everything. If
Yeah.
everything is important, nothing is important is essentially what it is, and process sort of
Exactly.
defines that. So because you have to prioritize and
And
get
there are
things
again
done.
different
So
levels to the process, right? You have the process of exactly the process of how you set goals, right?
yeah,
Then the process, what's your process for executing on your goals, right? How do you take these numbers and then actually execute on it? And for us, right, we set OKRs,
that's right.
objectives and key results. We look at our functional KPIs or our criticals or our finance plan or bottoms up model, and we pick the areas that we need to improve, and then we run in sprints, right?
That's
We do
right. Yeah,
sprints. That's our operating system or execution system. Every 3 months for us is like every 12 weeks we operate in 12-week chunks, and every 12 weeks for us is like 12 months, right?
yeah,
Because we plan for the 12-week, we execute for 12-week, then we stop, do a retrospective, then plan again, right? it's
exactly.
it's 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 long enough to execute and achieve something, but it's also short enough so that if we're not hitting targets, we
you can
can
you can
adapt.
iterate, you can be
Yeah,
agile enough to
agile. It nailed
yeah,
it.
and throw things into it. And again, it's like process having a set process in place can also assure you that your output is consistent, and that's also
Yes.
huge because like, yeah, you have a bunch of great talent, people who work and we're all different. Like, You have
Yeah.
somebody who's like very customer focused or customer centric. Then you have somebody who's very like technical and everything, but the process kind of like ensures that you maximize the skills and capabilities of the technical person, and the
Exactly.
customer
You
focused
free up
person, and
people
put
to
them
think
together.
about um, the tasks that you can't put a process around because it's creative or it takes some sort of human judgment, right? Not everything can be turned into a process, but
Yeah.
then when you have a lot of your transactional tasks documented, you free up mental space for that to be creative around the processes that require that problem solving and mental effort.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, and you can only grow so much with great people.
Yep.
And
That's
like you
right.
said, it's consistency, right? You can only go so far with just having great people. Great people need good process.
Exactly.
Otherwise there's going to be a lot of consistency, and it's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows.
That's right. Yep, that's correct. So that's the process part, and then you touched base on it earlier, but the next key is traction, and this is where the
Mm,
execution comes in, and not only just the execution, but the follow through and the
mm,
retrospective and looking at that. There was this principle that was like super cool where he talked about rocks and like, oh, you need
mm,
to achieve your rocks, and like, okay, what are rocks? And he said that rocks are like that. Remember there was that video where if you put something in a glass, you have a limited space in a glass, right? And
right.
you have to fill it first with the big rocks
And
because you put
if
it
you fill
in
it with small pebbles
with
first,
pebbles, then you
you
put
don't
it.
have room for the big rocks. But if you put the big rocks first, then you fill it up with the pebbles, then you have
Yeah,
enough space.
and you put in the sand and then you put in the water. But if you do it in the reverse order, you put water, you put in the rocks, it'll displace the water, or you put in like the sand first, you fill the glass with sand,
Yeah,
the rocks won't fit
I love
anymore,
that
unless you
analogy.
cram it in.
Yeah.
So there is a set order and follow through as far as traction is concerned, and vision, which we said was one of the keys earlier. Without traction, is just mere
Mm,
hallucination, which
yeah,
is
or
like
daydreaming.
it's
Exactly.
daydreaming. Yeah, traction is what makes your dream come true, right? But at the same time, also, if you just do pure traction and then you go out there, then you have the problem of filling your glass with sand that, and you can't build a foundation on sand
Or it's
accordingly.
meaningless, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
executing and staying busy without a clear vision of what the future look like, right? If as they say, if you don't have a destination, you'll arrive anywhere.
yeah,
um and for us, really, traction for us is we define it as OKRs, or objectives and key results.
right.
Every quarter we set objectives, and we set key results to achieving those objectives. And I think that was first, this OKR framework was created at Google.
Yeah,
It's been fundamental to how we operate.
absolutely. Yeah. So, the next one is actually it was amazing because again you don't really see this much talked about, and it's like not part of your key principle of an operating system, but issues are something also with it, and this is why your company will always have issues no matter what. It could be like
Mm,
profitability issues or people issues, or
mm,
nothing's working, or traction issues. So that realization of issues and being able to identify how to attack it, and to be able to find those chinks in the armor or weaknesses will allow you to be more resilient or more capable or more able accordingly. There's actually there's this funny thing, like in World War II, they were like looking at the bombers that were returning, and they were like all looking at the points where the airplane kept getting hit at, and
mm,
they were like they determined also where to put like the armor on the plane, and then they decided to put the armor on the plane on places where the plane didn't always get hit at, and people were asking,
mm,
why are you putting armor where this is the area where the planes get hit at? Because these planes returned, they didn't crash. The planes that got hit in other
Mm.
areas are the ones that crash. So again, just thinking about that whole thing is like the
Wow.
realizing holistically and where to put. You again have limited resources to fix things, and that and get traction to it. So,
Prioritizing problems.
yeah, exactly.
For all of us executives, we have dozens of fires burning at
Exactly.
all at the
Yeah.
same time. The question is, what fire do we put out first? Right? It's always about what do you prioritize. There are so many issues, more than you can deal with, right? Especially as you grow, there will always be more fires to put out than you can or you're capable of. So then the question becomes, which fire do you put out first, second, third? And I love this concept of keeping a log of issues. I don't know, we do address issues. That's how we, set OKRs, but I don't know, we keep a log of these issues, and we're not maybe as systematic as the EOS system, but I love this. I'm going to steal it and see how we can
Absolutely.
introduce it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where you can identify, you discuss, and you solve it. And
Yeah,
there are key issues. And again, learning from your issues can prevent it in the future and make you even better.
absolutely. And like Einstein says, right, 90% of the solution is understanding the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Once
essentially.
you understand the problem, you understand the root cause of the problem and the impact of that problem and what worked, what didn't work, then you're there. The solution becomes very apparent.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
times we just spin our wheel because we just are solving for the wrong solution, or maybe not the highest priority problem, right? Because thinking of, in theory of constraint, you're as strong as your weakest link. So what is that weakest link?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Absolutely. And the last key discussed was actually, one of my favorite is the people, because again, your
Mm,
company is composed of people, and this is again where it goes back to Collins in like the right seat, right? You need to get the right
mm,
people on the right seat on the right bus at any
mm,
time, and so you need to really analyze and look at your organization. You need to determine people's strengths. This is where like for us, where this comes in handy, right? You determine whether
mm,
someone is like a dominant or an influencer, or is
mm,
stabilizer, or or is more collaborative or anything to that extent, right? So identifying that and recognizing that there's also like in an organization,
mm,
EOS also talks about not emphasizing the role, because you assign roles,
mm,
then like titles. I mean, you emphasizing the role over the title. You put a title, people will always like fall back somehow when push comes to shove into title and push their way into it. It develops ego. So EOS kind of
mm,
produces like, what is your role? So there's the visionary, and then
mm,
you have your integrator, then you have
mm,
the department heads accordingly, that are into it. So like the visionary, like, so like with you, the visionary, then you have an integrator. Your integrator is somebody who like gets things and executes and puts the traction together.
yeah,
And of course, the visionary keeps the integrator honest by saying, follow the vision, follow the vision. The integrator also keeps the visionary honest by saying, look, the traction isn't being made, you're always changing the vision or anything to that extent.
mm,
And that kind of organization is kind of like what will get you going. And there's also the whole accountability chart accordingly, right? That also rolls up into what we called earlier in the
yeah,
process and the
yeah.
KPIs to keep them honest and keep them going. So again, this six keys or six pillars are not like you can just run. I'll just be a full focus on process and never mind everything else, or I'll just fully focus on traction. They have to be put together, and you have to
I
always
love
like
that.
reflect back on your business and say, okay, where are we weak at? Where do we need to go into and move forward on it accordingly?
Yeah,
So the response or reaction of the
yeah.
folks over there, it was like it was such an
It's
aha moment.
it's
Yeah.
interesting you bring it up.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But you were saying?
Yeah, no, my internet seems to be wonky today. So I'm talking over you. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting that you bring it up because we literally just went through our face functional accountability chart,
Yeah.
where we list down all the functions, and then we put names next to each, like who owns this function. And what you find is, like, some people's name are like across 2 to 3 functions, and some functions, like, so you have either, someone whose name is not on there, or a person that you thought who's running this function, but then you've got like really 2 people running this function. Then you find some people across multiple functions, and that's where a lot of times alignment is so needed, because if there's more than one person accountable for something, then no one is accountable.
Yeah. That's
So
correct.
it
Yeah.
was a very eye-opening exercise to go through it and literally list every function, and who's running this function. And if you're honest, you'll often find, again, people, one person name in multiple areas, same function having more than one person accountable, and that's what creates confusion. That's what creates a dysfunction. And then you ask yourself, the person who I put their name in that function, like, would I hire them again into you, right? Would I be excited about hiring them again? And if you can't say yes with certainty,
Mm,
you have
yeah.
to make a change,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a very confronting exercise,
It is. Yeah.
because our growth is the growth of our company is in direct proportion to the people and leaders we have in place. The better the leaders, the faster we grow.
That's right.
So no, this has been amazing, man. Um, this has been a really good session, and for folks attending maybe Region One meeting in Redmond, I know you're hopping on a plane next week to go to Region One meeting in Redmond,
That's right.
Oregon.
Yep. In Redmond, Oregon, up off to the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, I will be there in Redmond, Oregon, on the 10th of
So if
November.
you are heading to that CFESA Region One meeting, make sure to connect with Mitch.
Connect with me, and let's talk over, let's chat, let's have a coffee, let's have a meal. I would love to connect with y'all.
Absolutely. So, Mitch, I appreciate you, brother, for always bringing us your insight and your learning. And I'm looking forward to our next session for your key takeaways and learnings from CFESA Region 1 meeting. Thank you,
That's
brother.
all right. Thanks, brother. See you soon. Bye.